Daily planning is the difference between working on your dreams and helping somebody else work on theirs. It's one of the basics of productivity. It's where productivity starts, really. But you might not know how to begin. And you might be asking yourself, should I even bother? You make a plan, you're just going to get derailed, right? Well, the short answers are yes, you should. And stay tuned, because this is what we're going to be talking about today after work. Before we get started, I just have a quick question for you. How many tasks did you have planned for today? Answer in the comments. I'm curious. I'm Colter Reed. I'm here to help you get the day-to-day out of the way so you can stop chasing the dream and start living the dream. We're going to be talking about productivity today. The basics, productivity 101. Why do we do daily planning? Now, if you plan your day or don't, that's kind of the difference between whether you're working on your dreams or if you're working on somebody else reach their dreams. That's kind of the difference. Now, I understand the frustration that we all feel sometimes. That we plan our day, we have this plan in place of what we're going to work on. We're going to do all these wonderful, great things, and then we get started, or sometimes before we get started, life happens. And so we just start getting derailed. We get interrupted. And for some of us, that's what our job is. Our job is to be interrupted. But even when it's not, it's really frustrating to get interrupted and get off your plans. But if you have a plan, it's easier for you to deal with those interruptions and get back on track. You don't have to ask yourself, like, okay, what was it? Where was I? What was I working on? You deal with the interruption, you go back to your task list, you just scan through it. Yep, this is where I left off, and you're good to go. You're right back on track. The second benefit of having the plan in place is that when an interruption comes in, you better know how to handle the interruption itself. Is this interruption more or less important than what I was already working on, what I already had planned? If it is more important, then okay, great. Set aside what you were doing and deal with the interruption. Handle that. If your job is interrupt driven, then that's maybe what you need to do. You still have a plan in place, but you plan on being interrupted. And if the interruption that comes in is not more important than what you're working on, then with integrity, you can push back and say, that's great. I would love to do that, but I will do it later. There's something else I'm working on right now that's more important. I need to focus on that. I will get to this later. Write it down, capture the task, and get back to it later. Probably my favorite reason to keep a task list of what I'm doing is just so that I know when I'm done. Work has a tendency to expand, to fill as much time as we're willing to give it. Parkinson's law. Work will expand to fill all the time that you will give it. If you're going to work until the work is done, you're going to be working a long time because the work is never done. There's always something else to do, something else that comes in, something else that you want to work on. When you have a plan, you know what you need to get done, then you know when you've reached the finish line for the day. You know when you've met your win condition, and you can stop. Go do something else. Productivity is a marathon, not a sprint. There are times where we need to sprint, but in the long term, it's a marathon, and you need to pace yourself, or you're just going to burn out, and you're not going to be getting anything done. Okay. The Ivy Lee method. This is personal productivity at its simplest. It is beautiful. It is one of the legendary stories in the productivity space. Legend has it that 150 years ago, give or take, 150 years ago, Ivy Lee cold called Charles Schwab. Now, this was the Charles Schwab who was the president of Bethlehem Steel Corporation, not the Charles Schwab who created the retail brokerage services company. Two different Charles Schwabs. And as far as I can tell, they're not even related. Anyway, Ivy Lee cold calls Charles Schwab, who was one of the most powerful and influential men in America at the time. He just cold calls on him and says, hey, Mr. Schwab, what would it be worth to you if I could increase the productivity of your executive team by 20%, what would that be worth to you? And Charles Schwab thought about it, and he thought, we're a big company. We already do a lot. If you can increase our output by 20%, that would be worth a lot. And so Ivy Lee tells him, here's the deal. Give me access to your executive team for 30 days. Let me work with them. And at the end of those 30 days, you send me a check for whatever you think my advice was worth. Now, spoilers, sweetie, the check that Charles Schwab wrote for him was $25,000. If you put that in today's dollars, that's at least $600,000, possibly more. And later on in life, Charles Schwab was standing around talking with Andrew Carnegie one day, and they got talking, and he said, I should have paid him a lot more than I did. He hadn't realized just how profound of an impact this advice was going to have on what his executive team was capable of doing. Here's the secret. This is what Ivy Lee got paid, $25,000 or $600,000 in today's terms for 1 month of work with Charles Schwab's executive team. Okay, I'm going to give this to you for free. If you want to write me a check for $25,000, I will cash it. But here it is, okay? Step 1, before you go home, before you leave the office and go home for dinner, write down the 6 most important things that are on your mind. Schedule a few minutes just to get by yourself, no interruptions, no distractions. Just take out a sheet of paper and write down the 6 things that are most pressing on your mind. What is it today that you didn't get to that you really wish you had? What is it that you need to get to tomorrow so that you are better prepared for the day after tomorrow? What's on your mind? Write down the 6 most important things. Now, once you've got that list, if you got more than 6 things, that's fine. Just do a brain dump, but then pick 6 and put them in priority order. Then step 2, go home. Go home. Go have dinner. Go golfing. Go out on the town. Do whatever. Leave work. Do something else. Because we are more than who we are when we're in the office. We are more. There is more to us and to our life than what we do 9 to 5. What about the 5 to 9? We got to pay attention to that too. And so step 2, go home. You've written down your 6 things, your 6 most important things to be working on. Now go home and do something else. And when you come in the next day, step 3, start with the top item on your list and work your way through it. However far you get, start at the top and work down. Okay, maybe you'll get through all 6. Great. If not, you get through 3 of them, you get through 4 of them. Maybe you don't make it through the first one. Maybe you spend all day working on that first thing on your list. You know what the beautiful thing about that is? You can rest confident that you spent your entire day working on the one most important thing that you could be spending your time working on. So don't worry about how far you're going to get through the list. You've already ranked it. It's the most important thing that you could be working on. Start at the top and work your way through. And that's it. That is the Ivy Lee method. Do the same thing the next day. Set aside a few minutes, plan the next day. Maybe some things from the list will roll over. Maybe they won't. It's a new list. It's a new day. The priorities have changed. There are a couple of things that I really like about the Ivy Lee method. I mean, first off, it's so simple. It's not a big complicated thing. It's simple. It's just 6 things. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly 6. Our work is different for each of us. Maybe you think in terms of smaller tasks or bigger tasks. Maybe that number adjusts a bit. But it's a relatively small number of tasks that have your attention. Something small enough that it's achievable. It's something that we can actually accomplish. We can work on. We can make progress on it. And it's something that we can manage. It encourages work-life balance. Okay, the second thing I like. It encourages work-life balance. A lot of people, when I see them talk about the Ivy Lee method, they talk about writing down the prioritized list, and they talk about working that list in order. They skip over the go home part in the middle of it. And I know it's really tempting when you get into that mode, that productivity mindset, like, okay, I'm engaged, I'm doing stuff. We don't want to think about stopping We've got momentum. We have energy. We don't want to stop. We don't want that to end. We're afraid that if we stop, we're not going to be able to pick it back up again. And so we want to keep going. But then we burn out. We start neglecting the other areas of our life. We start creating crises in other areas of our life that affect our ability to do work when we're in the office. Life is one indivisible whole. We can't completely separate who we are at work and who we are at home. We're the same person. And so, the Ivy Lee method, as simple as it is, it builds work-life management, work-life balance into the system. As simple as it is. It's wonderful. The third thing that I like about it is the end of day perspective. There is something just different about how our brains are working at the end of the day versus at the beginning of the day. And at the end of the day, we are more aware of the true importance of things. When we wait until the morning to plan what we're going to be doing today, for some reason, we're more susceptible to the urgency of things. Whatever is screaming loudest for our attention, that's what we're going to work on. That's what we're going to give our attention to. At the end of the day, it's easier for us to think about what's important. And that's what we need to focus on long term. Now, sometimes what's urgent is important. Quadrant 1 is a place. And by taking care of something that's important before it becomes urgent, well, that keeps it out of the way. That lets us just keep up that momentum, lets us keep going. At the end of the day, we have a more realistic understanding of just how much we can do in a day. We've just been on the battlefield for 8 hours, for 10 hours, however long our shift is. We've just come off of the field, and now we're sitting there reflecting on it. We know how much time we were able to spend on our plan. We know how much we got interrupted. And so we just have a better balance of how much we can fit in so we don't overwhelm ourselves. I couldn't tell you the number of times I do my planning over the weekend for the coming week. And I think about, okay, I want to do these things. And I'll write down this list of things to do on Monday that takes me until Thursday to cross off. I'm off the field at that point. And so I lose touch a little bit of how much I can actually get done in a day. And I get ambitious. Now, I learned this about myself, and so I roll with it, and that's fine. I plan the first half of the week, go through it, get done. All right, how much week I got left? How much harder, how much more do I have left that I need to work on? Third benefit, I love walking in the morning and having a plan in place before the morning gravel even has a chance to start creeping in. My schedule is full. It's planned. Little dinky things start trying to wiggle their way in. No, I can push back. I've already got a plan. My day is full. I am doing something that is more important than that thing. It also makes it easier to wrap things up at the end of the day. If the last 15 minutes on your schedule is an appointment with you, that encourages you to start shutting things down rather than trying to just constantly fitting in one more thing before you call it a day and go home. Again, go home. Integral part of the Ivy Lee method. So, let's talk about ABC planning. The Ivy Lee method just has a simple priority list. You start with the most important task and then work your way down. Now, a common twist on this is to kind of break your list into different categories. A tasks, B tasks, and C tasks. This is something that Stephen R. Covey made very popular. It's a priority list. Sometimes you can use it to good advantage, but sometimes, I don't know, sometimes I think that giving ABC priorities is just a fancy form of procrastination. Your A tasks. What are your A tasks? Well, those are your critical tasks. Those are the things that if you accomplish those tasks, they are going to change your results. They're going to make sure that tomorrow is different from today, that you're actually moving things forward. You're moving the ball down the field. You're not just doing the same thing over and over and over again like Bill Murray. You're actually making progress towards your goals. They're the things that need to get done. A tasks are worth staying up late for, but not the B and C tasks. B and C tasks can wait. And I try to minimize the number of tasks that I want to stay up late for. Sleep. getting enough rest should be one of your critical tasks for the day. B tasks. Well, this is kind of the default setting for tasks. The B tasks are the tasks that you expect to get done. They're the bread and butter. They're not the big tasks. They're not the A tasks, the really critical things, but you expect to get to them, sure. The C tasks, maybe you'll get to those. They're not as important. You haven't really made a commitment to doing them. They can be a little opportunistic. Like it's something that's coming up. Like let's say you need to meet with someone to discuss something with them. You're not to the point yet where you're going to seek them out to have this discussion with them. But if you happen to bump into them, then you want to have that reminder that I will need to talk about this with them. Do not lose any sleep over C tasks. If you don't get to them, you don't get to them. There may be. There's a built-in escape clause right there. If it's really important and you want to get it done, don't call it a C task. Promote it. Make it a B task or an A task. Now the question becomes, how much do you really need to split your tasks out into A, B, and C? Well, if it helps you, okay, go ahead and do it. But if it's just making you spend more time working on your task list rather than working on your tasks, then, well, try setting it aside. The Ivy Lee method is just a simple prioritized list. What does the ABC planning give you that Ivy Lee list doesn't? Oh, well, maybe I start with my A1 task and then I jump down and do the B1 task and then the B2 and then go back to A2 and then B3. See what I'm jumping around like this. Well, ask yourself why you're jumping around like that. Did you make a task an A task because you want to think that it's more important? Because it's the sort of task that should go at the top of your task list, like some sort of trophy showpiece, even though it's the fifth thing that you're going to be working on. Some of those B tasks are more important. You need to get those done first. Something to think about. At the end of the day, when you're sitting down to plan your next day, don't worry about it too much. If you want to use ABC planning, go for it. If not, don't worry about it. You're not doing it wrong. The great thing about personal productivity is how personal it is. Figure out what works for you and run with that. If you're getting things done, you're not doing it wrong. So the next question becomes, how many tasks should I plan in a day? The short answer is there's no hard and fast rule of thumb for this. No 2 days are the same. But if you want a template for kind of a starting point, then this is what I would recommend. Your A tasks, those critical tasks that are going to make a difference, that are going to move the ball down the field, up to 3. Any given day, you might not have any, you might have 1, you might have 2, no more than 3. When you start getting more than 3 tasks that are that critical, you're deferring making a judgment call. Everything isn't that critical. Some tasks are more critical than others, and you need to decide which tasks are going to get your attention first. You've got to make that call at some point. This always reminds me of Syndrome in The Incredibles. When everything's important, nothing is. When everything's important, nothing is. When every task is critical, none of them are. Up to 3 of your A tasks to work on. The regular tasks, 3 or 4, something like that. This will be different for each person. You know how big your tasks are, how small they are. The bigger your tasks are, the fewer of them you can fit into your day. So the fewer of them you will have on your task list. If you have very small tasks that you can knock off in 5 minutes each, you can fit more of them in your day. So you'll have more tasks on your list. But just a general starting point, I started with 3 or 4 tasks for just kind of the normal tasks. C tasks, the maybe tasks, the opportunistic tasks, I'll have 2 or 3 of them there. It's usually stuff that, if I have 5 minutes and I can knock something out real quick, I'll go ahead and knock it out today. This is probably something that would bubble up and become a B task or an A task in a couple days. But if I can knock it out early, great, I'll knock it out early. 2 or 3 of those tasks. Something else that I recommend doing. Identify 3 quick wins that you can get. Maybe these are your A tasks, your critical tasks. Maybe they're B tasks. Maybe they're C tasks. Doesn't matter. Pick 3 tasks that you can just knock out real quick and build some momentum on the day. These tasks should not take a lot of time. Ideally, you can fit all 3 of these into a single Pomodoro. Set a timer for 20 minutes and see if you can knock these 3 out. And that builds some momentum quickly. And so we start to get into that mode where, yeah, I'm getting things done. I'm crossing tasks off. I've got that dopamine flowing. This feels great. I don't want to stop. I want to keep going. And you get into that mood, that mindset, right as it's time to start on your 8 tasks for the day. That is powerful. You get in there, you just get going, you get some traction. You show yourself that, hey, I can knock things off. It's only 9:05 a.m. and I've already got 3 checks on my list. Let's go. Let's get this done. Let's get some more tasks on here. Out of all of these tasks that you've got on your list, identify the one task that is your win condition for the day. If you think about the Ivy Lee list, where you have just a flat priority list, you might spend all day working on just that first task that is your most important task and not get to anything else. That can be your win condition for the day. But if you have spent all day working on that most important task on your list and you don't get to anything else, that's a win. You've spent all day working on the thing that is the most important that you could be working on. Now, maybe there's 5 tasks you need to get through. That 5th task is your win condition. Depending on how the day goes, you might not get through your list. It's nice to have a win condition defined where you can just say, yep, I made it this far. I've won. I'm good for the day. I'm frazzled. I'm burned out. I just don't have it in me. I need to take a break. Maybe you don't come back from the break until tomorrow. Some days are like that. Identify your win condition for the day. Part of that is just knowing when you're done. When have you done what you need to do today? And when are you going into extra innings and just getting extra credit? Because that's fine. There's nothing wrong with working ahead. And the more you fit in today, the less you have to deal with tomorrow. Absolutely. Go back and think about Parkinson's law. Work will expand to fill the time available. So if you don't know when you've reached your win condition for the day, you're in the mode, you're feeling it, you're doing task after task after task, and you don't want to stop, that's hard. You're getting a lot of success in this area of your life, but you're neglecting other areas of your life. And you need success in all areas of your life if you're going to be productive in the long term and make that transition from chasing the dream, which can be a lot of energy in this area, to living the dream, which requires a lot of success in all of the areas of your life. That success that you have built up over time. What are some of the common pitfalls that you run into when you're planning the day? Well, one of the most common ones is when everything's important, nothing is. You've got to decide what you're going to work on first and what you're going to work on next. That's what priority is. Priority is not always, this is more important than this one. Priority can be just, this is what I'm going to work on prior to working on this one. You've got to be able to prioritize your list and make the decision, what am I going to work on first? The more you control where your attention is, what you're working on, the more you control the outcomes that you get. Second pitfall, overcommitting yourself. For some reason, we tend to keep our task list and our calendar in 2 separate lists. And we don't always refer to the other one when we make a change to one list. We don't always refer to the other list when we're updating one of them. When you're planning your day, look at your calendar. Look at how much time you have already committed to meetings and to being with other people, to being in certain places, certain activities already. If your calendar is already pretty full, your task list is going to be pretty empty, just because you don't have that much time to work on it. Instead of having 3 critical tasks and then 5 more tasks that you're going to be working on, you might have 1 A task that you're going to do and 2 B tasks. And that's it, because that's all you have time for. Every day is different. And so every day is going to have a different plan. Even when our calendar is completely clear, we need to have some sort of a notion of how much we can get done in the day. Some tasks are bigger than others. So If we're filling up our task list with a bunch of big tasks that are, each one of them is going to take us an hour or two to finish, well, there's a limit right there on how many you can get done in the day, isn't there? Whereas if they're 5-minute tasks, you can fit a lot more in. This is one of the reasons why there are a lot of people, and a lot of very successful people, who don't keep 2 separate lists. They just keep the calendar, and that's it. If they want to get something done, they don't write it down on a task list. They just schedule time on their calendar when they're going to do it. There's a lot of value to that. I'll go into that another time. I don't want to go too much into that right now because there are things to do it right. But that puts front and center the most precious resource that we have when it comes to getting things done, and that is time. When are you going to work on it? So, be careful not to overcommit yourself. Be aware of how your task list and your calendar interact so you make sure you're not overcommitting yourself. If you start having tasks that just roll from day to day to day to day because you just never get to them, that's frustrating. It's discouraging. It absolutely is. The fix might be as simple as saying, nope, I don't have time to do this today. I only have time to do this. I'll change a bunch of those B tasks into C tasks. These are the B tasks. These are ones I'm going to actually focus on getting done. And these are C tasks. If I get to them, great. If not, no worries. The third most common pitfall that I see is not writing down what you need to do. It's amazing how much we think that we can go through the day with a mental task list of what we need to get done. That just doesn't work. First off, your brain is worried that you're going to forget these things. So that's why you just keep repeating these things over and over again, over again. You can't think of anything else because your brain is so busy not forgetting the things that it's already thinking about. Second, if you get interrupted, you might be able to get that task list back. Good luck. Even if you can, you're going to spend some time thinking about, wait, what was I working on? Where was I? What do I need to be doing right now? Interruptions do not go as smoothly as they could. Honestly, at the end of the day, you'll ask yourself, where did the day go? I feel like I was racing around, just busy doing things. But I don't have anything to show for it. I mean, I haven't even touched my task list. I checked off one thing on there. I know I've done more than that. Well, you did. You did a lot of stuff today. You just didn't write it down. There is nothing wrong with writing down something that you just did, just so you can check it off. That is perfectly valid. I give you permission right now. You can do that, and you do not have to feel guilty for doing that. It is not ridiculous. It is not crazy. Dopamine hits feel great. Do it. If you did it, write it down. You're creating a log of what you actually did. And that log could be very useful someday. So by all means, write it down just to cross it off. Absolutely. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so glad that you could be here. I'm glad we could cover some of the basics of daily planning and just, one-on-one. It never hurts to have a refresher. If you found this helpful at all, hit subscribe below, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, just hit the thumbs down button twice. Show me just how much you didn't like it. You can always go over to cultread.com, link in the show notes, and continue the learning there. I am Culture Read. I'm here to help you get the day-to-day out of the way so that you can stop chasing the dream and start living the dream. And I'll see you after work.